Alrighty, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. It's not the 1st of April, it's the 20th of April. Certainly not April Fool's joke. Just keep that in mind. That's not what the day is today. That's the Southern River Bands with a bit of intro music for us. They've been here since the inception of this podcast. And talking about the inception of this podcast, I don't know if we've ever covered a bigger story than what we're about to cover, Skeeter. You can find us on socials, Shelter FootyCast. You might want to follow that before it completely blows up today. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au as our email address. We're going to get through the Bottle Mart Roughie of the Week, where you can start your weekend at Bottle Mart, grab your shelters from Bottle Mart, and they'll have you covered. Skeeter, how are you?
Sco, not how am I. It's I thought today was going to be the story that stops the state is the solar eclipse up there in Exmouth. But I tell you what, Schofield has just gone whooshka and said, I'm going to come out of retirement and play for the West Coast Eagles waffle side.
Yes,
I got the mail.
That is bloody right.
I got the mail last night, and then I had to find out this morning. I got some information, went on radio with it, and I'm still in shock. Only because I've drunk with you, I've laughed with you, I've cried with you, but I've never.
What is this?
Have you been training in private away from me? Have you been? What have you been doing behind my back?
Oh, mate, look. Can I explain how this has all happened?
Please do. There's many people who are completely bemused as to how you are able to play waffle footy.
Well, I don't know. That's still the jury's still out on that one. So, pretty much. As I do, as you've come to know, I run my mouth about this stuff all the time, right? I'll be able to play. I'll be fine. So Monday, I went and chatted to Simo, asked Simo, I got a segment at West Coast, and somewhere in that, there was some sort of thing he'd throw away line, and I said, I'll play for you. And he said, well, if you're being serious, then let me know. And then so the cameras went off, and I was like, mate, I'll play for you if you want me to. And he was like, didn't take me seriously, but I was being serious. Anyway, a few things eventuated. Got to Wednesday, which is yesterday. Got a few text messages from a few people at the footy clubs, getting a bit of momentum, seeing my availability. There wasn't a great deal of questioning about my fitness, which is a worry.
Which is a worry.
And, I trained last night with a group. I walked back into the West Coast Eagles locker room, put my stuff in front of number 31 and got into a West Coast kit.
And
I'm playing waffle.
And training last night, without throwing you under the bus, you said you went pretty well.
You dickhead. I think I did. I think I did. I was sizzling around, I was playing a bit of forward, a bit of back. Mate, look, I've got to, and I've told the guys that this isn't a surprise to anyone. Look, I haven't been training on the side.
Well, I know that because I saw you last week, poleaxe on a Thursday.
But that's all right. That's all right. I'm allowed to drink. I used to do that when I was playing AFL as well, Skeeter, so don't worry about that. But look, I've been running. Like, I can run. And I've played footy for 20 years in my life, so I have some sort of muscle memory. I haven't been kicking the footy. I've been kicking the footy with Nash.
That's going to stand you in good stead.
Look, laugh what you like, Skeeter, but I think I got something to offer.
I admire it. I completely admire it. I'm just run out wearing a BackChat jumper with a shelter beanie. I mean, you can actually conform because you've sort of gone into your own little sphere, the Will's world now, haven't you?
Well, there is some interesting caveats around it because, of course, I'm now effectively within the waffle system. I had to sign a contract with the commission or whatever I signed. So I was signing my contracts, which I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But you're not allowed to bet when you're involved in that. So no betting.
On waffle, you mean? Or
AFL. No.
Well, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to join you next week then if I can't have a bet in the AFL.
That's fine. So I can't. No betting, which is fine. So I've deleted my betting apps off my phone.
Hang on. Can I just go? So is this
waffle players can't bet on the AFL?
Yeah, no. I'm more concerned about is this in all seriousness? Is this a one match help out or what's the agreement?
I'm trying to get through a bit of a block for them. I won't sort of commit to exactly what it is, but I'm trying to play more than one game. And, on the serious side, like, and I know it's funny. Trust me, I know it's funny. It's bloody hilarious. But on the serious side, like I've been always taught from a young age that when people or, whether it be people or businesses, organisations or teams or whatever need help, then you just drop what you're doing and you help people. So I've done that in numerous circumstances. I used to do it as a player. And what I saw last week, and then I actually spent some times with a couple of the guys that played in that game, and they were just ruined, mate. Like 170-point loss. And that's kind of where the seed got planted for me. That look, I know I'm not the saviour. We're not going to win. Well, sorry. I'm not gonna be the reason West Coast win. a waffle game. But I can certainly help, and I've got no doubt about what I can bring as a leader, physicality element, playing for your teammates, like all that stuff I used to do as a player. Like, that's what I'll be trying to bring to a very young group. So I went down there for training, and they're so young, mate, and they have no AFL experience to help them out. So look, for me, it's like a bit of a no-brainer, really. And look, I may do both hamstrings in the first 6 minutes of this game. I may not. I may play well. I may play poorly. But for me, in my mind, it's about, clearly they're not in a good way. The waffle team, virtue of the AFL team. So it felt pretty natural for me to do. How it's going to go, that's the funny side. Like imagine me running around the waffle skater. I mean, seriously, you've seen what
I've seen you on a scooter down in Busselton, but that was at 11 o'clock at night. Which can I explore this further? So do you know what role you're playing on the weekend?
I do.
Can you sort of? I suspect now. I'm just going to.
I can't. I'll tell you. I can't tell you because I'm back in player mode now.
I think you shut up.
I am.
I would have thought you'd be playing more forward, but potentially. And look, in all seriousness, I think the on-ground game day position of you being able to verbal instructions, etc., is that what I guess Rob Wiley and those at the club want?
I mean, it's pretty clear. Like, I'm a key position player, so I think I'll be able to offer services at either end of the ground, and it'll be a bit dictated by how the game goes. So,
without taking the piss here, I mean, if you're playing for West Coast in the forward line, in recent weeks, you're not getting near the footy. So
only last week. The weeks before that, they were winning.
Well, they've won one in the last 24 or 5.
Pre-season, they won all 3 of their pre-season matches.
Yeah, well, they got beaten by 40 plus by South. All I'm saying is you might be required in defence.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think, and that's fine. I trained. I don't know.
How nervous are you going to be Sunday morning? In all seriousness,
I was nervous. Yes, I was nervous last night because like commit to it, doing it, and then doing a soft tissue in a training session. But like I trained fully last night, and I feel
it's a bit sore.
I feel a bit sore. Like I haven't been in a contested marking situation in 2.5 years, and I was in a few of those on the weekend. Took a couple of them. A couple of marks, Skater.
This is a great story. And in all seriousness, this is a really good story. Apart from the fact you help out your former club, which I know you love the Eagles and you can see them going through some tough times. But it's a great footy story. And you know what? Just to clarify, you're the only former player or of note that's come back to offer their services?
Yeah, I think so. But I did say to one of the boys, it'd be pretty funny if we just gave Josh Kennedy a call, Chris Marston a call, Lewis Jetta.
Mark LaCroix.
Yeah. So, look, no, it is just me. And, like, it's opportunistic, mate, because I've got my media commitments and work on weekends, and it just happened to be that in this block that I've
Sunday game to,
it's a Sunday game, so there's no clash with the Optus home games. There's actually a few sort of availabilities over the next few weeks. So, I'll just do what I can, mate. And yeah, like I don't expect to set the world on fire, but I do expect to contribute. Like I'm not going down there to just be a little vegetable. Although I may look at it sometimes like I did on the couch last weekend. I'm not going down there to make up the numbers.
And you're a competitive beast.
Yeah,
you hate losing.
That's the point. Yeah. So look, I've had a word from my wife. She said, make sure you don't take it too seriously. I don't want you.
What was Alex's first reaction? Because mine was
laughter.
Yeah, that too.
What was yours?
Laughter. I just thought it was the greatest. I thought it was brilliant. And I'm sure Dan and Jaden, we love it because it's something to talk about.
I'm not taking this too seriously. Like I want to compete, and that's the serious element of me. But I can also see the humorous side. Like I've been retired for 2.5 years.
Totally. It's like me saying I'm going off the drink for 50 days. You just about cried laughing. I'm starting to day 27.
Yeah. So look, Alex said, don't get reported. Don't get things too. That's what her thing was. So making sure my temper's in my. I don't think there's much risk of that, but
but you care, mate. You clearly care, and it's going to be. Just trying to think of East Fremantle. They've got Hugh Dixon and these big blokes. They've got some.
They've got some good players.
Yeah,
they've got some good players.
You could have come up against Perth, my mob, and you would have had half a chance.
Look, it's going to be interesting. I've got to do a bit of prep on the side, make sure I know who I'm playing on. But
do you reckon you cop some sledging?
Oh, feel free. Seriously,
not just from us.
No, I know you will. I mean, on players.
I wish Channel 7 was doing this game. Would have mic'd you up. Would have done everything.
Have you got any West Coast games coming up?
I think we've got East Perth at some stage. So just can you get us through to the whatever game we're
East
doing?
Perth, West Coast is 7.
Yeah,
because Hamish Brayshaw's a big friend of the family here at BackChat.
Yeah.
So do you know when that is?
I'll
tell you what.
I'm going to look up right now where we start the serious part of
so
this.
Alex's reaction with that, Dan, who's business partner and panellist here at BackChat, sometimes on the Shelter FootyCast, he asked, is it possible for you to make a run towards the mid-season draft, kick some goals, do some stops defensively, get picked up in the mid-season draft? I'll tell you right now, Skeeter, absolutely no chance.
Okay, now, if you can do me a favour, if you can still be playing by Sunday, May 28, which is only a month away, West Coast v East Perth.
We'll see how we go.
At Mineral Resources Park, mate. We'll do the full-blown production on SCHOEY'S.
We get BackChat covering it this week, and then we'll see how we go. So stay tuned on BackChat because we're going to have some good insight on all of that. Now let's get to the real stuff, Skater, because seriously, this is an absolute joke. Did you see Rory Lobb come off the airplane for this Rory Lobb Cup? Western Bulldogs v Freo. Did you see bit of a door? I want to ask you about this. Is off the top, and you've come at me for a bit, so I'm going to talk about media.
Yeah.
What do you? Is that fair game off the aeroplane, having 5 cameras in your face and microphones walking you off? All good?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, put it this way: Shane Warne used to come to Perth
true.
every time. I used to go as a journo. He'd say, "Boys, girls, just give me 5 minutes," and we knew what's going to happen. He'd say, duck out the back, have his dart, come back in and do the press conference. As simple as that. No, seriously. But he liked it. I mean, whether Rory did or not, I mean, I
just reckon it looks shit house with them on the move. I would like to see players. I think this would help, right? Because I look at it and I just think this is just garbage. Like it looks like they're accosting him, and I know they're not, and I know it's a part of it. What would really help journos and the media would be the player to go, guys, can you just let me get my bag? Stand over there. I'll give you 3 minutes. You can ask the questions you want. I'll give you answers, and I'm leaving.
100%. This is where the club has to come in, and I know they've got, everyone's got a media advisor. I'll be saying, Rory, you're going to be, hit up when you get to Perth. Let's just say, once I'll get to them first, say, guys, get a couple of shots, then we'll go outside or go wherever.
Because that's all the media wants, right? A couple of lines.
They don't want war and peace. They just want your old club. What sort of reception are you expecting?
Yes. And he should expect those questions as well.
Totally. And you know what? It's not, and it's done. It's only 5 minutes as opposed to, I was saying, Rory, mate, just let's do it because it takes a lot of heat out of you. You get the shot, they get a grab, you walk off.
It's actually easier because if you do that, then they're not chasing you all week for an actual line. If you just, everyone gets their piece, everyone goes back to wherever they go and clip it up and put it on the news and everyone's happy.
Yeah. Well, I asked Millsy and Carl on radio yesterday, I said, will they jeer or cheer Rory Lobb? And Millsy goes, they're going to boo him, of course. And he goes, what else would you think? They booed him when he was playing for the Dockers, let alone when he played against them.
And so I had this conversation with Paps about booing, right? So the Horn Francis stuff, I get it when they play North Melbourne, he should be booed.
I get it.
Right? And I think he should be. Like, fair enough. You're passionate about your club. Yeah. But like when other clubs are playing, I don't understand why he's getting booed. That makes no sense. So the ones where you don't know what's going on, like Andrew Gaff against Freo.
You get it.
Fair game. Great. Go for it. And if that goes on for his whole career, good on you. Like, if you want to do that, go for it. Roy Lobb, Bulldogs, I think it's fair game. Boo him.
Totally. And people say, I don't boo at the footy. It's theatre. Dermot Brewed used to cop it. Wooshy used to cop it. Carl goes through the ages. I don't, put it this way. If that's the worst we have from supporters at AFL matches as opposed to what we've seen around the world, no, it's... Look, the Adam Goods one is getting into different territory, but
of course it is. Yeah.
I think what we've got here is, I think it'll be great theatre tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I hope he kicks a couple of goals, like is able to give it back a little bit.
Or misses from 15 metres out directly in front. That will create a bit of noise as well.
On the other side, West Coast, more injuries. Hearn, Long, Yo confirmed as a groin and longer term than a 1 weeker. It's a 3-4 week injury. I've been very positive about it and saying, look, some of these big collision injuries and blah blah blah, but it's starting to get to the point now where you have a player that is 2 years out of retirement playing in the waffle side.
Yeah,
that's drastic.
Yeah,
that's as funny as we can make it. That's drastic.
Can we, as outsiders, lay any blame? It seems hard given the injuries we're looking at. Can there be any blame attributed to the strength and conditioning group? And this is more that you would know more about the setup there. Yeah,
I think you can, but with injuries, there's always more than one reason. It's never, like we used to do it when I've had injuries my whole career. Done hammies, done calves, done back, done shoulders, done knee. Like I've been injured, right? And when you do it, you do like an injury sort of, check off list. Did you, were you moving house the week before? I did about 3 hammies when I'd been doing something extracurricular. And then about a week later, the load on the back would do the hammies and I'd do a hammy. So, you'd look at that, or you'd look, okay, what's the loading phase we're in? And that's on the strength and conditioning guys, because they have to monitor the group daily as to how the group's going. You look at ground conditions. Did you play somewhere different? You look at boots. Are you wearing different boots? Are they new? Are they old? There would be a checklist of about 20, and quite often with an injury, you'd have about 5 or 6 of them checked. Yeah, I moved house. Yeah, I actually changed boots on Tuesday. And then Thursday, I did a couple of extra hundreds on training, and I had more kicks than I should have had. And then you say you've got those 4, and so there is. You've got to put some blame on the strength and conditioning. And I know a few of those guys personally, and they've put full blame on themselves. Like that's their job, right? And so when someone gets injured, they're like, don't care about anything else. It's our fault. But in reality, I don't think it is. I think it's that some of the injuries would be, some of them wouldn't be, and you just have this, I don't know, cataclysmic event where you have all of them put together.
Yeah, that's a fair call. We know that Swamp's one of our favourites on Twitter. How about this? And I just still keep looking at this. The games experience named on this week's AFL website injury list: West Coast, 1,384 games.
Wow.
Next on the line is Sydney with 1,153.
Which is quite a lot.
Which is a heap as well. Freo's mid-range about 640.
What's the bottom of the list? I know the answer.
Brisbane has 1.
Yeah.
Adelaide, nothing. Donuts. That is just an extraordinary
Can you give me like the bottom 6?
Bottom 6.
Adelaide
0. Brisbane 1. North 188. Gold Coast 206. Hawthorn 344.
Right. I hadn't looked at it properly, but I was thinking maybe it was like St Kilda, Essendon, Adelaide. These sides that are jumping up, but it clearly shows that injuries are a part of it. And Adelaide's got all of their best players available. I think for West Coast to make a run at finals, like I was carrying on about in the preseason, they needed to be in that bottom 6
for most of the year.
Yeah, and they could have done it, but clearly that's not going to happen now.
No.
Will Schofield. The current Waffle Eagle.
The comeback kid.
Current Waffle Eagle. Mark Reddings, show the FootyCast. The comeback kid, you reckon? You like that?
I put that on Twitter because I was trying to, don't use Twitter that much. Don't use social media much at all. But I thought I might put this out there because it just brings so much joy to my face. I've got a lot of people retweeting or liking it. One of those ones.
Oh, have you gone viral?
Oh, not for viral. I think I made 5 people say, are you on drugs, Skeeter, or not? Anyway.
Well, the funny thing is, I did this for April Fool's last year.
I know. I do remember that.
I had a few people hitting me last night saying, I've heard this. Is it another April Fool's? I'm a bit late, isn't it? It's the 20th of April. I legit did this as a joke last year.
I know. I do remember it.
Anyway, West Coast and Freo. Let's get into this. Fremantle play Bulldogs Friday night, Optus Stadium. Big game for both clubs. We spoke about this a little bit on Monday's show. Rory Lobb up against his old side. I'm hearing, Skeeter, usually I go straight to you, but I'm hearing there's going to be some real physicality in this game.
From whom? From which side of the equation do you think?
I believe Fremantle are going to take on the Western Bulldogs in a physical sense.
Oh, and what do you think would be the motivation behind that?
Cannot reveal that, but I've just heard a few things.
Does it relate to Rory Lobb?
No.
Okay.
No. I can stop. This isn't Guess Who, though, Skeeter. I'm not going to keep putting down...
Let me throw this at you. Instead of going physical at them, how about the Dockers concentrate, as we spoke about before, getting out of bed before the other teams kicked 3 or 4 goals?
I would love to see that. I think. Well, clearly I'd love to say that. I think it's become some of these things that happen in footy land, they're narratives that run by the media. They've seen the Jason Horne-Francis stuff, but things that I can remember from my career, West Coast playing away from home and the home record. And so every time we travel, the news articles would come out, and if you keep losing, it keeps building and it becomes real. It's not real at the start. So when you first start doing it, it's just events. But if you keep doing it enough and this grows enough momentum, it becomes a thing for the players. So they've got to have a circuit breaker where they do something different at the start of the games because they're getting smashed. They're getting completely pulverised. We had that stat that they'd won 3 first quarters in the last 24 games or something like that. That's not good for a good side. You can't do that. You can't give games away in the first quarter, which is what they've been doing, right?
Can I throw this stat at you?
Yes.
The Bulldogs, despite their recruiting, which has been, and their forward line, which is built on tall forwards, the new look Bulldog side,
yes,
they have taken just 8.6 marks per game inside the 50, the fewest in the competition.
Wow.
That number surprised. Well, we know that they've struggled in their forward line, but is it a case a bit like Fremantle where they had the three big tools early on that doesn't quite work for these two sides anyway?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's probably going to make it a good game because, I mean, Fremantle haven't been able to do it either, right?
No.
So, look, I do think that this game in particular, there's going to be some very curious eyes over here in the West. Aaron Norton, of course, a home body here.
Got plenty of them. You've got Aaron Norton, Tim English, Jason Johannesson.
I think those first two that you mentioned, they're serious. They're serious players, and I think they're serious contenders to be able to pull it out of the Bulldogs. Like I really think Freo and West Coast be looking very carefully at this game with the Bulldogs in person. Sometimes opposition coaching staff don't go to games. I wouldn't be surprised if the West Coast Eagles coaching staff are at this game.
And if you're thinking players, I'm just thinking with Nick Nat's future, English.
Imagine if you could package Norton and English. Let's say West Coast, because I think Freo won't be chasing a Tim English given their ruck stocks.
Yep.
Like, it's almost guaranteed they're not getting Tim English. But West Coast need him, and West Coast need Norton.
Yeah.
Imagine you get an English Norton to the West Coast Eagles. What would you give up for that?
Well, you are giving up the farm for that, aren't you?
Would you say that Western Bulldogs are closer to a premiership than West Coast right now?
Oh, yes.
So could you hypothesise that some sort of deal gets done where you trade some players along with picks?
I say this with all due respect. You tell me. I mean, apart from the kids, who's tradable from the Eagles? Jay McGovern's been mentioned for a team just trying to top up to win a flag. That's been sort of mooted. Whether
you'd certainly have to give up some quality to get those two players in.
Who is the quality that's not just about done in terms of physically and over?
Well, everyone's injured right now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, even when they're fit, Luke. There's not too many players I would have thought that at the Eagles that are really star material trade-wise.
Yeah, that's probably a good point, Skater. I won't challenge you on that. Fremantle, of course. Will Brodie should come back into the starting 22. Like surely we're done with this experiment of him not being in the side and being sub. Like, he comes on as sub, has almost 20 touches last week.
Yeah, I think it might have been just a wake-up call for Will if he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do in his role, but I think that's put that to bed, get him in there. He needs to be playing for the rest of the season, barring injury or another huge lapse in full.
Bruce will be out for the Western Bulldogs. Maybe they get Alex Keith back, depending if they can cover with him. So there's a few changes. Who you got in this one, Skater?
I can't believe that we watched the Dockers get 42, 41 points down in the elimination final. They kicked 11 of the last 13 goals, I think it was, in that match. Yeah, I think the Dogs on the road, second game, heavy conditions, Adelaide Oval. Just take that last half against the Gold Coast and think that might just be enough momentum for Freo to win tomorrow night.
I said I was done with the Dockers last week, and they beat the Gold Coast, and I'm back, baby.
You're back, baby. Yeah.
At home, this physical stuff that I'm talking about, I think if they come with that mindset, that'll help them start well. And I think at home, with the momentum of a crowd, after starting well, because that's what it does for you. The crowd gets up and about, and then you start having moments. I think Freo win.
It's a special night as well. The 26th Len Hall game. They do the Anzac tribute. I was there at rehearsals during the week. Graham Edwards is going to read the ode. It's a really special place. You've been out there as a player. I'm not sure Anzac Day, whether you've been involved in many matches, but whether it's standing to attention for the national anthem on a final, etc., out in the middle of Optus, and me just as a spectator or doing some MC work, it is a really special moment, particularly the silence in a moment like Anzac Day. So, and the Dockers do it superbly.
Very good. Great shout. Skeeter. Port Adelaide play West Coast Saturday on Adelaide Oval, so they'll be playing the second time in a row at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah. They flew back, which some have questioned the wisdom of that. But what is it? They get back Saturday night or what it was. Yeah, I sort of get it. 4 or 5 nights back in your own bed.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of the players and spoke to Adam Simpson about it, and both of them were pretty much in alignment. The players, the most important thing to them is the sleep factor. When they were there, so this is one in particular, Tommy, when they were there, they were sort of like, oh, we should stay. Like, I can't be bothered going to the airport and doing that whole thing. But lying in bed that night
when you get back
and sleeping, they're like, thank God we get back.
And most people are like that.
Will Port win this?
So Port win it, but I'm just trying to think, what can Adam Simpson do on a coaching front to try to... I mean, Jimby's going to play, but he's a bit sore.
There's no moves for players.
No,
they've got what they've got. Like, it's literally 24 players available, something like that. I don't know, 25 players available. So they'll get what they get with their players. In terms of coaching, you need to try and get the pressure factor that they've brought against Geelong for probably 2 quarters, maybe a little bit more, and Melbourne for 2 quarters. You need to try and get that to 3 quarters. I don't think they have it in them to do it for 4 quarters right now, but if they can show that they bring that pressure factor for more than a half, I think that's a win for West Coast. Where that leaves the game, I don't know. But Port win this just to sheer quality of their side, I think.
Yeah, the Eagles have conceded 50 points per game from clearances. That's ranked last. That's
off the back a bit off centre clearance as well, because they've got those young bodies in there.
Yeah, and since round 2, the Eagles have conceded 17.5 marks per game in their defence of 50. That's a bit of footy to be absorbed. So the numbers are all bad. The average winning margin for Port's been 58. I reckon if they can keep it to that same margin that Geelong beat them, it sounds defeatist, but that's probably realistic.
Yep, that sounds right. Trent McKenzie's 150th game. If Travis Boak kicks a couple of goals, he gets 200 career goals. I love those quirky ones. Thank you, Charlie. So I don't think we need to spend any more time on this game.
No, we're both Port.
Very good. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield, Shelter FootyCast. GWS Brisbane Saturday, Monica Oval. What are they doing in Monica? Oh, that's GWS, isn't it? That's
it's just home away from home. Monica's Canberra.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, not even in Sydney.
So what are they? So I was right. What are they doing in Canberra?
Well, they play some of their home games there. They're trying to. That's their way of expanding their market.
Canberra's not even a. I mean, it's just politicians.
Canberra Raiders. Isn't it? That's about all they.
Who lives there? Just pollies.
Pollies and
there's no beach. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
It's cold as well in the winter.
Putrid. Brisbane coming off a couple of big wins. GWS. Got that win against Hawthorn late in the game. Brisbane, Jack Gunston was out last week. He could come back into the side. A couple of others maybe. Answorth, who's been an interesting one, and Robertson. He's a West Australian boy that hasn't been in the side.
Yep. I think the nephew of Darren Glass.
Yeah, you're dead right. Yeah. So he hasn't been in the team, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, I just wonder whether he's a player that might be targeted down the track by a WA club.
GWS will be out without Tom Green after copying that 1-match ban.
That's a big blow.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff about the tackles is worth just a quick touch on. I still think there's Gray. It sounds like if their head hits the ground, that's when you're in trouble, which is just up for chance when you're tackling someone, which is, I think, ridiculous. But unfortunately, I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution.
I just wonder how much litigation, which is sitting over the AFL at the moment, is governing the rules or the interpretation of rules. But I mean, I feel so sorry for players because the bump, effectively telling players, give that away because of the possibility of head contact.
Yes.
And the tackle. So essentially now you are going to try and tackle a player but not bring him to ground, because if you take him to ground and you trip or he falls before you. I think it's a really tough one for players. I actually feel very sorry for them in a high-impact, high-contact game that you now are asked to go through these steps before you execute something in a split second.
I agree, mate. Who's winning this?
Brisbane Lions will win it.
Brisbane win.
But I tell you what, that was a big win by the Giants last week. Harry Himmelberg's price on the open market if he decides to go with the mark and the goal. It was, but I mean, it was against Hawthorn. It wasn't against Melbourne. Sometimes you win matches, Schoey, that for the Giants, they were cooked during the third or fourth quarter. I thought, they're gone here, but they found a way. So they won 2 tight games. Big win for Adam Kingsley. He didn't look too happy about it, but he looked like a bloke that just lost his last dollar.
He looks a bit serious, doesn't he? All right, very good. Geelong Sydney Saturday at home for Geelong.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, I'll let you do your own call. But Geelong, defending premiers, we know what they've done. They started poorly. They're starting to get a little bit of form. Still only put it together against 2 poor sides in Hawthorn and West Coast. We expect them to beat those sides. This is a good team, Sydney, and they play them at home. How do you think they go? Sydney last won in Geelong in 2018.
Yeah, look, a bit like Brisbane at the Gabba, Geelong just play the ground so well. I honestly don't think they're playing great footy at the moment, Geelong.
Yep.
I think they're doing it when it suits them a bit.
Yep.
I mean, after half-time, they were 64 points up. They switched off. Eagles outscored them. So that's not a great sign, but they just have the quality. And, of course, Sydney down on some defenders. We know the McCartan story, which is still sort of in the background. Sydney, I think, will give some cheek, but down there, you just tip the Cats without reservation, I think.
Bottlemart Roughie of the week. Start your footy weekend at Bottlemart. Grab your shelters where Bottlemart has you covered. I'm picking Sydney, Skeeter. I think,
beat Geelong in Geelong.
Yeah, I've had a look at the fixture and I reckon I'm getting off the board nicely because I don't know where you're going to pick a roughie from later in the week.
Oh, really? I didn't even think of that.
So there you go. That's my roughie of the week, Skeeter. I think you can argue for it, right? I think Sydney, good side. Geelong, they're not in the best form. It's been a while since Sydney have won there, but if Sydney bring their best game, I think they can really challenge a Geelong Cats side. Do I think they're definitely going to win? Maybe not.
No. Who are you tipping?
Well,
do you have to tip if it's your roughie? Do you have to tip them?
I don't know. I've got about 7 different tipping comps, and I think I change every different
Oh,
time.
look at yours. You do change like the win.
Okay. Well,
who have you tipped?
I think Sydney.
Obliged Sydney because of Bottlemart.
Sydney.
Okay. I'm tipping.
So
Geelong.
if they win, I'll give it to you. But if they lose, I'll say, well, of course I picked Geelong. Like, Geelong were always going to win.
No, I think that's something. Yeah, right. You left me with donuts at the back end of the round, but that's okay. I'll go with Geelong, and then I'll find one at the back end.
Hawthorn v Adelaide, Sunday at UTAS Stadium, Tasmania. Adelaide have managed to find some incredible form of late, Skeeter. They've been absolutely sizzling and Laird and their leader, Dawson, which I think is just an incredible story, what he's been able to do. Crows haven't beaten Hawks in Tasmania since 2005, Skeeter.
Bingo!
Wow.
That might be my Bottlemart.
Bottlemart Roughie of the week. You're going to pick Hawthorn. They haven't beaten them in 18 years. I don't know how many times they've played there.
Oh, that's a good point. They've only played them twice. You're just lulling me in a false sense of security. Yeah, look, I'm a bit of a fan of Adelaide, so in all seriousness, I think they win this game. What is it about Launceston and, Tasmania particularly, that Hawthorn play better? Why is it, do you think? Is it the ground? Is it the conditions?
I always used to think, like, under Alistair Clarkson, he probably got them up to play well there. Like, it was an away game for them, but it was a home game, if that makes sense. Like, they had to travel and get together. I always felt like it was an Alistair Clarkson-driven thing. I don't know. It's a really good question. It's pretty brutal playing there, mate. Like, I played my 100th game there. It was pretty...
Is the ground... I mean, I've been there. I've commentated there. It doesn't seem...
But it's always windy, really windy, and it makes a difference the way you play that ground. So that's probably why. Are you picking him?
Jordan Dawson, by the way, if he's not in the top 5 in the Brownlow medal, he's certainly in the mix, isn't he? He's playing really good footy.
Yeah, he is, and he's definitely in the All-Australian team at the moment. But I mean, he's doing that. He is playing a bit back. Some games he plays off a back flank, and wing, and then some days he's inside, like playing on against Port
last weekend.
Yeah, Carlton. Against Carlton. He was head-to-head with Cripps the whole game.
And Cripps was nullified completely.
Cripps was quiet and Dawson dominated. So
Adelaide scored 65% when Jordan Dawson kicks the ball inside 50. Now, that's a huge number, isn't it? That's a massive number.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so champion data with these stats, by the way, not me.
Thank you very much,
but I'll take it. I'm going Adelaide because I like the way they're playing their footy and they've got a few weapons and, I like the Crows.
Yes, very good. Okay, so it's not your roughie of the week.
No, it's not.
Carlton v... I pick Adelaide. Carlton v St Kilda.
Toughest match of the round to pick this one.
So is there a roughie in it, or is it about even? It's not really a roughie.
St Kilda's been backed into about $1.82, just guessing, and then Carlton's about $1.98.
You're going to have to... Mate, you're not going to get a roughie out of this.
I will!
Carlton v St Kilda, Marvel. Both sides looking for redemption after a loss each last week. Both Collingwood and Carlton getting it done... Adelaide getting it done over these two sides. Where does either get the advantage? Like, where do you see this one sitting? Like, St Kilda... They're built off a defensive mindset, defensive pressure, hard running, high half forwards. They've got the fitness element going. They're trying to make it that rebounding game. Whereas Carlton, of course, have the, two big fellas up front in Mackay and Curnow and are based off a really strong contested brand of footy inside. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, and Saints' defence has been just terrific. Best defence, really. When you think of it, conceded just 24 points from clearances this season and just 33 points from intercept possession. So they have got their backs, and this is Ross Lyon. This is him, the template of him. And look, they were really brave against Collingwood. I thought they were gone 4 goals down, but they kept coming. I think, and Marvel Stadium, they pretty well. You're right. The question is, can they restrict the two big boys who are quite, in essence, last week against Adelaide, and compared to what they did the previous week? I think St Kilda's suffocating pressure might be enough against Carlton. Can I use them as my roughie of the week?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not really. They're not really roughies, but they're.
So who'd you pick?
St Kilda.
Right, sorry, I wasn't listening. St Kilda is your roughie of the week. Bottle Mart roughie of the week, thanks to Skeeter. He's picked $1.90
Yeah, I know.
equal.
Well, you picked Adelaide last week as your roughie of the week.
No, I picked like 3 of them. I picked one of them did. Essendon. I picked Essendon to beat Melbourne, mate. It's a roughie. This isn't a roughie.
I'm going for St Kilda. Who are you tipping?
I'm picking Carlton just to go opposite to you, and because I'll probably change it when I actually put my tips in. Gold Coast v North Melbourne.
Reverse blockbuster.
What's Heritage Bank Stadium? Have I covered this already?
Metricon.
Right. Can we just call it Metricon? Why are we talking about Heritage Bank?
It's a sponsorship deal that, a bit like you with us with Shelter and BackChat, we try and promote
I
those who help us.
I should find some sort of Shelter merch to wear in this waffle game I'm playing in. That'll be quite humorous.
A bandana or something?
Yeah.
Like a headband, like Jaden Hunt. Are you seriously?
Oh, my God.
Oh, mate.
I'd look like Bruce Dool. I'd genuinely be like a tall,
You just
skinny
want Helen
Bruce
DeMarco
Dool.
to come out there. Do you know who she is?
No.
She was the stripper. Not the stripper. The streaker. She probably was a stripper. But she came out in the grand final. And you didn't see the vision.
She had her scar.
Yeah, and he was trying to tell her to go away. Blokes like you and I be going, yeah, come here, I'll have a chat to you, sweetie.
Helen DeMarco.
Helen DeMarco.
Okay.
She's getting a bit old. That was about 40 years ago, so she's probably just a bit like us, just not looking that great.
Decrepit. Gold Coast, North Melbourne. The North Melbourne have been better than I thought they'd be. Gold Coast have been worse than I thought they'd be. So it makes this a bit of a
lottery.
300 for Goldstein in this game. Game 300. He's done well.
He's been terrific. Could have left. I mean, he was sort of up and down with his career. Missed selection round 1, which seems really strange in hindsight. But for me, the biggest issue at the moment now is Stuart Dew's coaching position at the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
If they don't play finals or at least knock on the door strongly at the back end of this season, I don't think you can keep him going. He's had 5 years, or I think you've got to wonder. Someone like, just throwing this out there, someone like Damien Hardwick, who's been at Richmond for a long time, had success. Does he push on? Does Ken Hinkley stay at Port? I mean, irrespective of how they finish. Or does Nathan Buckley, do they lure someone of that ilk? I just think he's under real pressure if they don't start to show us something. And they led by nearly 4 goals against the Dockers. They fell away. It just seems like the same movie with the Gold Coast. Having said that, I'm tipping them to beat North.
I'm going to pick... I was going to pick North in this.
It's hard on the Gold Coast to tip a team like North, isn't
we'll
it?
go Gold Coast. I don't want to preview much more of this game. I think it's going to be a stinker. Gold Coast, I'll pick. Melbourne v Richmond, MCG. Big one at the G.
Anzac night.
Yes,
Eve. Yeah, look, you'd have to think with Richmond's injuries, and Melbourne really poor.
Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. So it's a beauty.
I like that fixture.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, can I just say off the bat, I think it's a massive mistake we haven't got Thursday night footy. I mean, it's for the first 6 rounds, it stops for 7, then comes back. Let's just do it like the NRL. Have Thursday night footy.
Yeah, why don't we have it? Is it because we got a Tuesday and a Monday?
Maybe that's part of the reason. And yeah, the 6-day break.
I don't want to spread it too thin across Saturday.
Possibly, but there has to be ways of being able to orchestrate Thursday night footy. I think we accept this is the day outside of our weekend that we really enjoy.
That's correct.
Anyway, this is a Monday night, public holiday next day. Demons have been that was I reckon off-cue performance by them, and I expect them to rectify. I think Richmond's shot. I reckon they're done. They'll have matches where they produce some really good performances, but I think their injury toll's pretty high, and unless Dan Curvis is.
I don't think he's ready to come back. Short should come back into the side. He's a good player, but they don't get many soldiers back. Lynch, of course, is out for a decent period of time after having some surgery. Look, I agree with you. I think Richmond is shot. That's the only reason I'm not picking them. I'm not impressed by Melbourne like some are. I think
their best is still very good.
Well, yeah, but you've got to be able to do that consistently,
No,
and I really think they're susceptible to pressure. What we saw against West Coast here, I just saw a side that. Yes, they're very good. And when they put the foot down, they just, ran all over West Coast. But when the pressure was on, which is, finals footy, that's what happens. I wasn't very impressed with the way they handled it. So I'll pick Melbourne, but it's begrudgingly, Skeeter.
Yeah, I mean, Clayton Oliver, he's still the guy that gets the
Petrarca gun.
Yeah.
Gawn's 1 week away, I think. They trained this week. I don't think he's going to play. But he's very close.
They should be beating Richmond. I've been off them for a bit, and I just... They look a team that's just about the injury tolls starting to really affect how Damien Hardwick can get them up.
Now, I concocted this up a little bit. Hopefully the Shelter boys are happy with this. I'm going to call this the Shelter Root Stout Game of the Round.
What does root stout mean?
Yeah, great. So that's what I thought you'd ask. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So this is, I'm sure Skeet will have some fun with the name. So it's a root scout. What do you think it is? A root stout?
I'm guessing it's a beer.
Yes, Skeeter. Well done. It's the Shelter Root Stout.
Root stout. It sort of sounds like
Skeeters, get your brain out of the gutter for 2 seconds.
No, I'm trying. It sounds like an American. They have root beer in America. Is it?
It's a dry, drinkable stout, not too heavy, not too light. It's named for the 50 kilos of roasted beetroot that got added to the brew, which bring a hint of sweetness and delightful velvety texture, Skeeter.
A dry root stout. Okay. We're all familiar with that.
So it's the root stout game of the weekend, Collingwood v Essendon, Anzac Day.
Brilliant. Love it. I've been to one Anzac Day game over there, and it was just, and I'm talking about the pre-match formalities, was just terrific. And, we see it with the servicemen and women, and no one likes war. No one wants to glorify war, but we just need to honour people that have been there and fought for our country. And I think it's one of the great days on the AFL calendar. Kevin Sheedy still deserves, and those involved with getting this match off the ground, enormous kudos. And I think it'll be a cracking game. I honestly do. I think the absence of the skipper of Essendon, Zach Merritt, with suspension, again, really hurts Essendon. But and I didn't see much of the game against Melbourne. I was commentating Waffle last week.
Mate.
But they must have been really good. Collingwood
are good.
So, no, I think it's got all the ingredients. In terms of changes, personnel-wise, Jordan De Goey, you'd expect would be right to come back into the team.
Yep, so they're he just missed with sickness. Dan McStay's out for 10 weeks.
That's huge.
Finger tendon injury. So, look, he was touted as that sort of replacement for being able to, crash packs and that sort of stuff. So he's going to miss 10 weeks. He can't handle a footy for 6 weeks. So that's a big, big injury.
Yeah.
They're the ones you got to wear wires on your hands and stuff. So,
and Howe's out. Just quickly, Jeremy Howe, I heard an interview after his compound fracture, the arm. He's had, I think, 4 or 5 surgeries.
Is that infection? Or?
Yeah, I think infection. That was the main concern. So, he's gone for a while, but that sounded like a really nasty post, surgery complication for him.
That's that's about it for injuries. First time for nearly 20 years, both sides have been in the top 4 for this game. So it makes it for an absolute blockbuster. It will be a sellout. Collingwood Essendon, there's probably, in terms of fan bases and
huge,
this is massive. And Essendon, the Essendon fan base, who have been,
latent,
of finals and finals victories. Like they haven't won a final in over 6,000 days. They're up and about.
Yeah,
they think this is the year.
And their defensive, one thing we've noticed for so long, their defensive, they've looked like they have a plan. Even the players, dare I say it, in post-match interviews last weekend were saying, we feel like we know what we're doing now, as in we have a clear direction now. Whether that was a slide on Ben Rutten or not, I'm not sure. But either way, they're playing good footy. I think the competition is so much better when Essendon's up and about. I know there'll be some Hawthorn fans and Collingwood supporters, etc. But bottom line is, the history of these matches recently is pretty good. 6 of the last 8 matches have been decided by less than 20 points. The Magpies have won 5 of those.
Wow.
So, by and large, we see close matches between these clubs. I can't wait for Tuesday. I've got the day off after doing some brekkie radio. I'll be, you'll be probably
iced
up still from Sunday. I might be iced up just having a... no, that's my Tuesday done and dusted. Really great day. I'm going for Collingwood because I'm really buoyant on them.
I'm picking Collingwood too. That's our tips. That's the week. Shelter FootyCast, Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. Now, Skeeter, just got an email to get through, mate. So if you do want to send us an email, please get in touch with us. footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. We've had one come in from Katie. G'day, Katie. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, would like to know your thoughts on this. Blake Acres, as well as Griffin Logue to North Melbourne, supposedly moved to Carlton for money reasons and Freo weren't offering him enough. My question is, how were Carlton able to afford him and offer more money with the likes of Cripps, Curnow, Mackay, Chera, Walsh, etc. on their list? I can't think of too many Freo players besides probably a couple who would be on money like these Carlton players. How were Freo not able to pay what Carlton could? I do think we are missing Acres in particular this year. Thanks heaps, guys. Katie.
Yeah, well,
I've got a couple of thoughts, but
essentially, Colin Young was his manager, he's his manager, so he would have done a deal on that front. Now, whether they're saying Fremantle didn't have the money, that's the question that you have to really ask. And how valuable was he considered? Look, he was very valuable to them last year. So,
Absolutely.
So I don't think there's any issue with his playing ability. Whether they didn't see growth on that front, I'm not sure. I don't think last year Fremantle had a huge salary cap issue, except for the fact that Luke Jackson was coming in, and whether that had to be.
You'd have to think that Darcy, Brayshaw, Sarong, these sorts of guys
are only getting paid more and more.
Yes, right. So I do sort of take the point though. Like Carlton do have a lot of top end guys, but they don't probably have a lot through in the middle. You know, that they're probably top and bottom type list.
Stars, and then there's a bit of a gulf.
Yeah, so maybe he slotted in there. I mean, we don't know what the actual figure was, but Carlton may not have offered a stupid amount of money. It may have been Freo's stubbornness to not pay over. Hey, we're not paying you over 200. Just called 200 grand.
Yeah.
And Carlton said we pay you 400, and Freo said we're not going near it.
Yeah.
Rather than a really huge offer by Carlton, and just underneath from Freo. So,
it's just like any business transaction, really, going in, whether it's keeping employees, as to who you value, what you have to.
Yes.
You manage your staffing list. That's exactly like Footy Club.
do you want to just hit that button over there,
Travis
please,
Kelce.
Yeah.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Tell me about the business transaction.
Mate, this is from a bloke that's never run a business. That was talking shite. Okay, I'll shut up. I'm still laughing about you playing footy
Correct,
this weekend.
mate. We are done and dusted. Make sure that root stout's getting to the dry root
Yeah,
stout.
I'll tell you what, I might even have one. If put it this way, if you can kick two on
You'll
the
break
week,
the duck.
No, I'm going to stick to that.
We'll put the dry root stout in the fridge, and you can have one of those with me.
I'll scull one with you off the back of you kicking two, and also you have to wear something. You have to wear boots that are a bit. Do something to make it, because you're going to have some cameras on you. Do something.
How about I act like a 34-year-old retired AFL player
and sit in the grandstand.
Correct, mate. That's done and dusted. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks to Bottom Art Roughie of the Week. Skeeter's made one up. It's not really real. Southern River Band boys to lead you out. I'll let you know on Monday how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. It could be a rough one.
Yeah.